Hello, everybody, and welcome to another VSM Real Estate Podcast. Daniel Krakowski will not be joining us today because he's got some closings because, he's the heavy hitter. But I do have Ryan Schroeder with me.
Hello, Goran.
And we have a special guest. You probably have seen him on vlog 15, 14. His name is Rafik Moore. He's with Caspian Group.
Hello, everybody.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Go ahead. Say it one more time.
Hello, everybody.
All right. So the reason why we brought him in, if you haven't seen the vlog, is he's all about commercial real estate. And what do we do?
Residential.
And what does Rafik want us to do?
I want you guys to grow.
You want us
and whatever
to grow?
you do.
All right. Well, let's dive into the conversation why we all should have commercial real estate as part of our repertoire or offerings or services, and why you switched from residential into commercial. So if you want to give kind of a few minute pitch, how you got started in real estate, some of your first deals, how long ago, and where you are today.
First off, I don't want to discourage anybody who does residential real estate from doing what they're doing because
we're not dissing on that.
Yeah, but ultimately, I think I started
packing up already.
We are all in a real estate solutions game. We provide a solution to despondent owners. We provide a solution for people who need space to live or to run a business out of. And getting experienced in commercial real estate just adds additional services that you can provide, especially if you want to do it. Then I would absolutely recommend for anybody to do it. It's a bigger game. It's a more exciting game, and I'm passionate about it. So that's why I advocate and implore everybody in the residential world to at least look at it and not be intimidated.
So, how did you get started in real estate? Were you a real estate agent first, representing buyers and sellers, and you started in going into investment yourself? So give us a little bit of a timeline in your growth within the real estate world.
So I've always been a finance guy. Okay. I've always been a finance guy wearing a real estate clothes. I graduated from Carlson School of Management with a degree in finance, and nice. Started as an underwriter at a banking institution. So basically, when you submit a loan application, I was in the lending world reviewing, denying.
You were in there.
Actually, we were in an alternative.
The banker was saying it's your fault and denying us. Got it.
we were in the alternative credit world back then, and so stated income, stated assets, and I memorized all these programs, and I understood the risk modeling of that time, and as it related to their lending, and a lot of things were interest rate driven. So if you have a stated income loan, it would be 2% higher than a residential. Than a full doc loan, and a lot of that dynamic was. I went through a lot of it and understood the risks associated with the acquisition of or lending on a piece of property.
So I feel like I see this a lot where underwriters or people inside the bank see the numbers from the people that are doing real estate. They're like, man, I got to make this money. Was that a thought that you had?
Well, for me, the progression was because I didn't really work with a lot of investors at the time. Progression was to look at brokers. See, I was an underwriter. I get a salary of $12 an hour. That's what I started at.
Yep.
And I see brokers putting $5,000, $10,000 in their, HUD settlement statements. I'm like, man, these guys make a lot of money. And so my first thing was to become a sales guy, an account executive, where I went out and sold it to brokers.
Yep.
Mortgage brokers, that is. And from there, within 6 months, I started a brokerage business because they cut my compensation by almost half as an account executive. And that's when at Royal Financial started and we grew that business from 2003 with one guy in my house to 100 people and 4 branches in 2006, which basically 2007-8, everything collapsed and I was without a job again. It was a very interesting time in my life.
All right.
That is a pretty common progression, though, starting where you're at, in terms of the hourly work as underwriter and then to originating loans and then eventually get your eyes on that realtor commission, because then you're going from 1% to 3%. And then from there, it's all about investing, and it's you just kind of keep chasing the bigger dollars.
So
growing.
So did you jump into representing individuals, or did you jump into, hey, I'm just gonna buy real estate assets for myself as an investor? Or did you do both things in tandem, where you represented people, you got the commission, but then you also be like, you know what, I'm going to build my own portfolio? And, I'm sure you've had a number in your head that you wanted to amass of individual residential units.
It's interesting that you ask. I wasn't in the world of amassing a real estate portfolio at the time. We were driven by the fee income and net income type thing. That's where, when I see people in the world of non-real estate related activities, they're all about NOI and profit, or revenue growth. And so I had, pretty successful business with $4 million in fees. I kept 30%. I kept 30%, and then of course paid my bills from there. But a lot of people ask me, "What is your hobby?" And I really didn't have a hobby. It turns out my hobby was flipping houses.
Okay.
On the weekends or when I get home, I jump on the MLS. I did have a real estate license. And ultimately,
you did not, or you did?
I did. We started a real estate company. It was a natural thing for everybody to do at the time, and I started a title company as well. And so everything was sort of going in the direction of a fee income company. 2 things that were sort of that I didn't know about is that the more money you make, the more you have to give to the government. So taxes is a big issue.
Right.
And buying real estate and renting it was a good hedge against that. And I thought I would pretty conservative. I bought a ton of real estate. I think I had 22 houses in 2007. I bought 3 of my offices where I ran my business.
Right.
Because I didn't want to pay rent. And unfortunately, when everything collapsed, it was this sort of a destruction of all the industries, and nobody was lending, and I couldn't really re-tenant all these buildings, so I had to let them go.
Right.
I was in, very deep financial despair, and mentally too. As I look back and I listen to other people who are in other industries, and they were pumped in 2008-9, and I was depressed, I recognized that it was really a mindset that really slowed me down in that period of 2 to 3 years, where had I been on the offensive versus on a defensive, I probably would have been 5 times more successful today. So I want to attribute in my sort of a growth mindset is very, very important, whether you're in an economy that grows or economy that tanks.
Right. Okay. So you're buying and flipping properties. Did you have any kind of a ratio as far as what you were keeping as rentals for tax benefits versus what you were flipping? And what was your ultimate goal at that time?
I didn't really have a set strategy with flips. I was excited about the deal making, and I kept buying these properties. I remember the market sort of slowed down. And when the market slowed down, I had 5 or 6 of them going, and I probably had 10 rentals or so. And so I did a lot of rent with option to buy with non-qualified borrowers. And so I'd collect a $5,000 fee, and they would live there, and ultimately, hopefully, they were supposed to buy it, but market kept going down. And I remember looking forward and not really seeing that the market is going to come back. It's just when you are in that zone, you don't really see it coming back. It was all nosedive, and the values have dropped by as much as 40%.
Right.
So if I have a $200,000 house with a $140,000 mortgage, well, that value was $110,000. So I was upside down, and I could carry the payments, which I did, but loans were due. And the biggest lesson I learned is not to put all the loans, short-term loans, in your portfolio. I learned to try to extend them as much as possible.
Right.
So today I try to do 10-year deals versus 1-year deal.
Right. Because everybody, in 2000, prior to the crash, 2008, everybody thought that the house were going to just keep appreciating up and up and up, and none of that was going to be an issue, especially when the loans adjusted. However, that wasn't the case. So, all right, now that you're how many properties have you flipped?
I flipped over 400 house properties right now. Probably.
Wow.
I mean, we do 60 houses. We're still doing houses right now, but I don't really run that business anymore. Raheem, my partner, runs the residential world in our business model. But I've switched to commercial real estate in about 2012, 2013. I've done commercial real estate all along, but it was 10% of my business. I did apartment buildings, 12 unit, 14 unit, 9 unit buildings.
What was the catalyst for you to refocus your time and energy? And now it looks like it's 90% of your business is going to commercial. Was it mentors? Was it the paychecks, the commission? What do you like about it? Or what did you find out at the time where you're like, you know what? I may be in the wrong part of this business.
So my goal was to get to 100 properties that I own on my own. And I was very close to it. And I met this guy, Alex, and he's my mentor, he's a good friend now. And just like in the movie Blow, where Johnny Depp is in the cage with the guy, in prison. Diego, yes. Diego and Johnny Depp.
You had the wrong dream?
Yeah, he's basically, I'm like, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have 100 houses. They're like $300 a month. I'll make 30 grand. And that's my destination. And I was very close to it. It's like, dude, that's junk. But what are you talking about?
Pause for 1 second. Your number that you had in your head was that, you know what? When I get to 100, that's the cash flow that I want. And that's where I'm going to mail it in and live on an island. Or no? Or you were like, I'm hungry for more, but I didn't know what that more was. And you meet Alex.
It's a stepping stone.
Gotcha.
Everything, I've never sort of built my life around I'm going to make that kind of money. I'll stop working like many people I meet. For me, it's a journey. And that was my milestone that I was looking forward to. I have 100 houses. It's just a nice thing to say. It really didn't mean anything. It was just a mental thing.
Yeah.
But when I told him about it, and he's like, man, that's the stupidest business ever. People who you surround yourself with a bunch of losers who don't want to pay rent, especially if you're in North Minneapolis, which I had a lot of houses in North Minneapolis. And he's like, look at my business. I got a lot of professionals. I got a lot of business owners. And it made sense. I was like, man. But then the biggest question that I had, well, how do you come up with the money? An average $2 million deal, you have to come up with $500,000 for down payment. Well, everybody knows you can't come up with that kind of money if you coming from even if you have 100 houses, you might have 50, 60, 70,000.
Yeah, and effort.
It's a ton of power to accumulate that amount of capital. And he showed me some tricks. Now I went to Scott Shields' Commercial Academy, and I've learned that there is a whole different world of people who have capital. And if you are a good jockey and you can run the show and you can demonstrate to people that you're good at what you do and you're honest, people will invest with you. I mean, there's so much capital out there that needs guys like us who want to put money to work. There's not enough of us right now.
Right. So, you mentioned that everybody that wants to deploy their capital needs a good jockey. What were some of your skills or your traits that you had at the time where made you very appealing to people that want to, I want to give this guy $1 million, $2 million to buy a building, redo it, and lease it out?
Well, the first building I bought, Alex was my investor, my mentor investor.
Okay.
And he says, you know what? Look at this building. Now, at the time, I was looking to move into my own office. I still have a building on Lake Street where we ran our little management company. Mm-hmm. And it was small, and it wasn't very exciting or impressive. And I really was itching to get into a larger, nicer perception of who we are as a company. And so he says, you should buy that building. I know it's an ugly building, but the land itself is worth $3 million, and the guy can't sell it for $2 million. So I look at the deal, and it's not financeable. 40% vacant. All the rents are month to month. The building is destroyed. The roof is bad. And asphalt is bad. Everything is just ugly.
No jockey on that one, huh?
Well, hold on a minute. No jockey on that one for 2 years as the guy was trying to sell it.
Okay.
And I can't get a hold of a broker. I think broker gave up on it. So I said, okay, well, I'll just call the number on the building. So I call. This nice lady picks up, Cindy, and she says, hi. I said, I want to buy the building. Who should I talk to? She gives me the number of the owner. I called the owner and I expressed my interest. He says, I said, it's not financeable. Do you think you can help me with the financing of the property? He says, yeah, I mean, I would with a 20% down. So I talked to Alex. I said, Alex, here's the thing. I don't know anything about it. I'm nervous about it. We go on at 50-50. You come up with $200,000. And I thought to myself, I'll scrape up $200,000, which is a lot of money. I had probably $70,000, $80,000 from a couple of sales, and I thought I'm just going to sell a couple more properties and just eke out 200. And Alex, all right, we'll do the deal. So I got the contract, we signed the contract, and earnest money is exchanged. And 3 days into the thing, I, of course, smart guy that I am, baking 3% fee. And I said, we're going to use that fee as down payment for a real estate thing. And Alex says, don't do it. I'm like, Alex, you don't understand. Let's do this. It's another $60,000. And Alex said, I don't like it. I don't want to do it. And you know what? Do the deal yourself. He didn't even give me the time. And I was like, why? He says, I spoke with my wife and I don't need any headaches. I've never had partners and I feel like if I have a partnership with you, we might have different personalities and it might not work. Why don't you just do it on your own? Now I'm like, I have a purchase agreement. I need to come up with $400,000. And I've never done that size of a transaction on my own.
Yep.
So I was excited about it. I talked to a whole bunch of people, but at the same time, I think I was pot committed at the time to the building. I've done research and due diligence and stuff. So basically, I maxed out everything I had in my life, and I borrowed money from friends. All in, yeah.
All in.
And I thought, and this is 2012, 2013, 2012 is when I'm talking about, end of 2012. And I brought this lady from South Dakota, and she had $100,000. I said, well, I'll give you 10% of the building. You'll run it. You'll manage it. Plus, I'll give you a job. And she came and worked with us. Ultimately, we bought the property, and we were very lucky because market was hot. This is a building in St. Louis Park, 30,000 square foot building. We bought it for $2 million. Everything is set. We filled it up. The cash flow is good.
The seller financed you, and you just came up with the 20% down.
It's a contract for deed. I mean, there's a whole, I don't want to go into it. There's a whole negotiation that we went, I got a 2.5% interest rate.
Yeah.
Long story short, that building I bought for $2 million, and Alex was right. He saw the future. Somebody came to me 3 months later and said, I want to give you $3 million for it. Please move.
So if he saw the future, why did he bounce out?
Because he didn't want to partner. When you are in the world of commercial real estate, you don't really have to. I mean, he has he's got 1 million square feet. He doesn't really. He says it's work.
It's not about it wasn't about the money for him.
Yeah,
he just didn't want to.
And there's a lot of other deals.
Relationship be at a jeopardy.
Yeah.
Now, why would the seller that sold you the building
not sell it himself?
Well, not that, but why would he take a 2% interest rate?
So negotiation 101. And like I said, we can go at this for a while, but I was gonna meet with him.
Hang on, before to set.
I was gonna ask for a $300,000 discount
to set that answer up. Currently, the guy doesn't have the 20% down in his pocket, and he has a building that's in disrepair with a very high vacancy.
Well, this is what I like to call my price, your terms,
exactly.
my price. So
That's
you
exactly
gave him the
what it
$2
was.
million, but you got it on a contract for deed, 2.5% interest. Those are your terms.
We weren't really talking about interest.
And he got money in his pocket, the seller.
Yeah.
And he's like, no more headache.
See, seller lives in Miami, and he doesn't want to deal with this property. It's just headaches. Tenants complain. Everybody who wanted to buy the building wanted to buy an empty building. Nobody wanted to buy a full building. Now, you empty the building, and the sale might take a year, 2, 5 years. This development stuff is really messed up. And they offered me $3 million, but they said, you have to vacate everybody. And this purchase agreement fell out 3 times from 3 different buyers. Because
when you got a hold of the building, how long did you have it?
I've had it for 3 years altogether.
Okay, so then...
But the offers were coming in and out. And at the last offer that came in, I was so tired of dealing with the development guys. I said, I'm not selling to developers because I'm not going to vacate the property. If you want to buy the building, Mr. Buyer, buy it as is and then do with the vacancy yourself. And every single lease I signed, I put in a vacate if sold clause. Mm-hmm. But it was my privilege, my right, not theirs.
Okay.
And ultimately, we sold for $3.2 million. That deal sort of catalyzed and gave me a huge cash flow bump.
Confidence and cash flow.
Yeah, confidence but at the same time, it was an impetus for me to go in that direction because as I was trying to sell it 3 times, I did not sell it twice. Remember?
Yeah.
And every time I thought I sold it, I went shopping again. Deal junkie that I am. So I bought 2 buildings the first time around. I bought 3 buildings the second, and there was reasons because I wanted to move people around and things like that. But ultimately, I've recognized after my first deal and I turned it around, in the eyes of the investor community on the commercial side, I've proven to them at least that I'm capable of turning a building around.
So when you're in the midst of this deal, you didn't pause or stop your current operation, what you did, which was basically flipping and then also managing a portfolio of your real estate investment.
Absolutely.
How were you able to, I guess, juggle both of those, both commercial and residential?
It's the same activity.
And how key was it to have the right people, and how did you get the right people? And how did you put it all together? What were some of the nuggets you can give us and our listeners?
Well, I think at first I was the leasing agent. I was the accountant.
Yep.
I was everything. And I'll tell you, one thing I've learned, human resources for us as we grow our company are so important, and you can't underestimate the value that they bring to the table. I remember hiring a person who I was going to pay $50,000 a year to. I was like, man, I got to go and get $50,000 more now every year to pay these people, and now I can't imagine my life without them. So as I look ahead and I'm thinking about having a $100 million portfolio or even more, I recognize that I can't do it on my own. There's skills that I am good at, and that is procurement of capital or deal analysis. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be property managing. I don't want to be accounting. I don't want to be project managing rehabs. Mm-hmm. So I need to make sure that people that I hire to do this job are very well trained, motivated, and compensated, so that they do a great job and deliver. And so we all grow as a company. So.
Gotcha. I feel the same way as far as having the right people, and how having the right people is probably the most important part in your business growth, or acceleration from having just a okay company to a very, very good or a great company. What do you think, Ryan?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like you're limited by your weakest links. So any weakness that you may have is going to be glaring. And so taking the things that you're not good at or don't desire to do, and having other people who are good at them and can do them better and do them on a consistent basis is key. But like Rafik alluded to, you have to compensate them well too, because the better they are, the more they're worth to you or to someone else. So that's
Absolutely.
a big part of it.
So now that you got your first big deal with a substantial profit, you already had a couple deals lined up, you said. And did you approach those two deals the same way that you approached the first one? How was it financed? How did you play that out? Was the first one the hardest? Like they always say, the first one was always the hardest? Or
I don't think
the
first one was hardest, but I wasn't as good at that one. I didn't have the skills
mm-hmm.
necessary at that point to do a lot more. And so I've learned a lot from many other mentors like Scott Shield and some other Commercial Academy and some other people that I've learned from.
Yep.
But every deal was different, and every deal was unique in its own way.
Yep.
The next building we bought was a 20,000 square foot strip mall for $900,000, and it was 50% occupied also. In that deal, I needed to come up with $300,000, and I asked the seller to lend me the down payment.
Right.
And so that's where we came in and we leased up the building, and it was 100% occupied. 100% occupied before we closed, and the appraised value came in at like $1.7 million, and I'm buying it for $900,000. So everybody was happy.
So real quick, when you mentioned appraised value, how often, again, after you see that there's money left in that deal, are you do you immediately want to pull it out in order to finance another deal? Is there even a strategy for where you wait for that equity to keep building, or do you have a certain metric that you use where you're like, okay, at this level, I'm going to pull it out and then roll it into yet another deal?
I think everything has to do with the strategy, short-term and long-term strategy. Leveraging properties is very risky, and I don't think I want to do that. I'd like to have a nice balance of equity and debt on each deal. Now, after property proved itself to be good, after these tenants have paid for a year or two,
mm-hmm.
I think it's justifiable in my mind and in the banker's mind too. Don't forget, you have to convince the bankers to lend you the money based on the new value, because that new value is a projection to the future based on your rents. You don't have a demonstrated, a payment history of collected rents and things like that to validate the value. So we've always wanted to wait for 12 months to 18 months to go and refinance and get that capital out.
How much of your, I guess, maybe formal training and some of your first jobs you mentioned as far as being on the risk side of things, being a banker and analyzing whether or not to even lend to somebody, how much of that was applicable to your current deals or even your past or your first commercial real estate deal? Because you mentioned that you were scared, but I feel like, well, hey man, you got a great degree, you had a good, you would be the most prepared because the financial aspect to you, I would feel like you would had down, so you would know what your risk tolerance is, versus a lot of people don't have that background. They just kind of hope the numbers work out.
Look, I want to tell you this. I know a lot of guys in this industry who don't have anything beyond their high school education, and they're killing it. I don't want to say that a person has to have a degree or a piece of paper to start any kind of a business. Right. I think anybody can do this. Anybody who has the willpower, discipline, and hard work ethic can get in and do it. Now, the most important thing is skill. You need to learn the skill. You need to understand what goes in and goes into the property, the metrics, the analyze and understand the property. And you don't have to have a 4-year degree to understand it. You just have to have a kind of a hustle.
Right.
But the other thing is that's very important on top of the skill is the philosophy, because philosophy sort of creates a background for your skill to work. And those are the things that sort of work as your almost a branding of who you are as a person. So integrity, hard work ethic, humility, and many other things that if you believe in those things and if your ideology is set in the right place, people will follow you. People will invest with you. A lot of people make a little bit of money and they become cocky. Other people see the money and they start stealing it, and integrity is just out the window. So I think as I was going to write a book about this, how to make millions of dollars in commercial real estate,
But you still can.
Well,
and we can put it on audio too.
Yeah, the thing is, I've recognized that it's not about everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to be a millionaire, but not everybody wants to sacrifice time and work hard and study and improve themselves on a regular basis every single day.
Right.
And I think that's what prevents anybody from achieving their dreams and goals. I mean, It doesn't have to be commercial real estate. You can have 1,000 houses and you can just buy, 20, 30 houses,
Right. I totally understand. I like that answer, and resonates with me because you and I think alike. And now that I'm doing some commercial real estate, Ryan we're as a company are doing a few different things. I've noticed that it's really about the willpower, the mindset that one person has to keep pushing forward, and that a lot of people just get sidetracked or stop because they don't think they can do it, or they don't know something where it's somehow impossible to break into that industry, or it's somehow impossible to ask a seller, hey, I have this much money, can you sell or finance it? And if the answer is yes, boom, you're in commercial real estate. Now, one thing that I've noticed, again, communicating with not just real estate agents, residential real estate agents, but also commercial brokers, agents, is really the lack of hustle. And what I noticed with you is that you hustle and you don't just take no for an answer, and you exhibited that within your first deal. You basically called up the building and said, hey, I want to buy the building. Who is the person to talk to? No one would ever do that in any capacity. Well, not many people would. So that's a really good way. You're taking initiative. You're trying to brainstorm different ideas of how you can make this work. And I think we discussed this briefly in the vlog about you being like a heavy hitter as far as taking the stressed commercial real estate and turning it around and creating zero vacancy or filling up with tenants. And most people think, oh, he just has a bag of these people that are just waiting to go in. Meanwhile, you're just picking the phone and networking, seeing who wants something. And I saw that when we went to the vlog and went to the strip mall. You went to the current tenant, said, hey, I'm buying this. Do you know anyone that may be interested? And their answer was, you know what? I think I know some people. And I'm like, this is what people don't do. And it's just so simple and rudimentary that everyone skips over because people wait for their phones to ring versus picking up the phone and dialing out or engaging people, whatever. So, would you say that that's kind of a good, what I took away from that vlog is the quote unquote part of your success is the fact that you're not just sitting waiting for somebody to call you to lease their space. You're actively looking to get somebody to fill that need, to get that property turned around.
One of the biggest things that I believe in and recognize is that we are controlled by a lot of invisible forces. Mm-hmm. And we live in a paradigm. We live in this zone of the things that we know, the things that we are comfortable with. And what I'm talking about is your knowledge. Or everybody, ask anybody, well, why don't you do commercial real estate? The first answer they will tell you is, well, because I don't have the money. I want to save. I talked to a lot of brokers. Well, I want to save.
What was my answer? I'm curious. I just want to know.
I don't remember, but I think it's
that's
so
good,
long.
It wasn't the money, dude. Come on.
Well, you're busy doing your thing.
Right.
You're doing great, by the way. So you don't worry about it. You don't have to do commercial real estate. If you do a lot within your realm, you're at your destination. But commercial real estate will get you guys on a whole different level. It's because we'll set you on steroids.
Right. And before you jump into your mindset and the story to all the listeners, we did the vlog 2-3 weeks ago. And then a week later, I got a call from Rafik and said, hey, you should look at this building. And I was like, yes, I should look at this building. And now the deal has progressed.
70,000 square foot building, by the way.
Right. And I was just like, wow, all it took was me having an open mind. Mm-hmm. And you planting the seed of like, hey, here are the possibilities and opportunities. So thank you for that. Happy
to help.
You're right. And we'll keep everybody posted to see how that develops. But it really, he's not, BSing. It's applicable knowledge that you can use right now, and he can help you get there. So again, going back to the mindset.
The biggest problem that I think holds people back from creating a life of their dreams is the fixed paradigm. Well, I got to work and I got to save $200,000, $300,000, do my commercial deal. Well, guess what? If you want to do commercial real estate, or if you want to do houses, $200,000 is nothing. Right. You can buy $1 million building and you're done. One thing that I learned is that everybody has money. A lot of people have a lot of money. And if you have a deal, and if you understand the deal, if you are really good, if you go in the direction of knowledge and awareness in the industry, and if you really, really want to do something, you get the deal, there will be people begging you to take their money. And that's what's going on in my life today. People are asking me constantly to place their funds because they recognize that we were doing a good job. We give them good returns. We deliver more than what market would deliver. Plus, it's secured investment in your backyard.
Right.
And so I don't want anybody to be held back by the paradigm of I don't have any money, because that's a false paradigm. It's a false self-limiting belief that should not be a problem. I think if you go into the deal open-minded and see the problem, and you might not have the solution today. Well, I'll help you with the solution. But find the problem in real estate. Let's see if we can find a solution. And if we find a solution, if we take that empty building and turn it into a 45-unit apartment building and have office on the first floor, the value will be, increased by a huge factor. And then all of a sudden, you can walk it once you have the plan.
Right.
And once you found the problem, you've implemented a solution in your mind, and then you go and you sell that solution, the plan, to people, and people will be happy to put their money in and get a return on their investment.
Right. And that's kind of my mindset, how I operate, where, like I said, it's not brain surgery, and it's all about providing that security and actually doing the work that most people don't want to do for whatever reason. But then when you do it, you're surprised how, just you attract investors. You attract people that have money that want to invest with you. Just like you said, you're basically holding yourself accountable to being outstanding in commercial real estate. And you don't have to make phone calls where you're like, hey, do you want to invest with me? The phone calls are now coming to you because of
people
your performance.
Look for you.
Because of your performance.
And so you have to put one deal under your belt, and then second deal. And it's not just commercial real estate, it's any real estate, any business for that matter. If you're a really good restaurateur and you deliver good, excellent food and everybody's happy with your performance, and you say, I want to start a restaurant that's double the size, people will go with you. Houses, flipping houses or buying apartment buildings, anything. You just need to pick a skill, pick an industry, improve your skills within that industry, and then go in that direction, and don't let anything hold you back. And if you need any help, reach out. I cold call every day for advice. I call people who are billionaires. I call people who have billion-dollar portfolios in town. And I'm just, I'm nobody in their eyes. And I'm like, hi, my name is so-and-so. Can I buy you dinner? Can I buy you lunch? I'd like to talk to you about this deal I'm trying to do.
I love it. And I think, a lot of people that think they're making some, great money, they think they're beyond that cold call, or they're beyond actually taking somebody out for lunch. And here you are, closing multi-million-dollar deals every quarter, if not every month, and you're reaching out to people. How many?
I got 7 under contract right now that I need to close within three months.
Right. So there you go. It's just, and we're talking about multi-million-dollar deals, and you're still hungry. You're here doing a podcast, and you want to still, if somebody was to call you right now and say, I have a commercial real estate deal, I don't have any money, but I got the deal. Will you take some time out of your day to listen? What will you say?
Absolutely. Of course, I will be happy to listen. I'll be happy to help with anything I can. I'm very selective about partnering up with people. But if people if guys bring a deal to me and they're decent human beings, they're honest, they have good credit or credibility, I'm happy to do it. I have a deal like that with one of our patrons, with the friends, with Mark.
Yep.
And
Mark Renea,
No, Mark Robinson.
Oh, Robinson. Okay.
So Mark Robinson, and I said, I'll give you 10% of the deal and just run with it and help me deliver it. To me, I'm not greedy. I'm driven by sharing, and I live at my destination right now. I'm not driven by making a lot of money. So my purpose is really, I will continue growing this business, but I'm happy to help people with their ideas, and I don't have to be in the deal to provide any advice.
So one thing that you and I discussed off air before a few times, and what we're going to do, and we're going to let everybody know when it's going to happen, but it's basically commercial real estate education 101 for real estate agents,
like
or people who have real estate licenses. Basically, we want to put it on an event where you would be the speaker and letting people know how to procure deals to you where they can get paid a commission. And it's basically just keeping your eyes open, not really doing anything out of the ordinary except removing the curtain blinders that you're passing by because you believe that you can't close the deal because you don't know enough. And all we want to do is open your eyes to, hey, look at the opportunity that's around you every single day while you're taking out your clients to look for homes. There could be a commercial real estate deal that you pass on the freeway where Rafik can help you close it. Do you want to talk about a little bit more about that?
The idea behind it was to educate people or the realtors. It doesn't have to be necessarily a real estate professional. It could be a wholesaler.
Yep.
Educate them about what we look for in a deal and maybe send them out to find deals. See, people might drive by a empty commercial real estate property that's 150,000 square feet and never think twice about it being a deal because it's outside of the realm of what they transact with. And so I wanted to spend some time with your brokers or realtors, and I'm probably going to hold it at other residential companies that are growing, just to sort of open their eyes to other possibilities. And commercial real estate deals don't close as frequently as residential deals, but if you close one, you can make a $150,000 fee, you can make a $60,000 fee, and then and they're real. They happen all the time.
Right.
And so I wanted to educate people about what we look for as a company and educate people about how we can work together. And I'm a man of my word. Anybody who's transacted with me knows that you don't have to sign a piece of paper with me to get paid. You bring a deal, you get paid, period, end of story. And what that is, we're going to have to agree and either sign a contract or we'll just handshake on it.
Right. But essentially, again, if you're a real estate agent, this goes out to all the real estate agents that are within VSM and other brokerages, that you can event this, free seminar or event, whatever you want to call it. Again, we'll give you a date and time on social media, so stay tuned for that. But you're going to be equipping people with the tools and the knowledge to remove any blinders they may currently have to recognize whether a commercial deal could potentially be good. And if it is, they can bring it to you. And if they don't have enough money or whatnot, it doesn't matter. They're going to make their commission. And you were open to partnerships, just like you said. However, if I'm an agent and I'm closing 100 deals a year, and I close one commercial deal and make $100,000, and I want to get into commercial real estate, I think closing a couple of those deals myself and getting paid on the commission will bring me one step closer to my $2 million acquisition because of the down payment that I'll have from doing what you did. And everybody starts that way, and it's a really good way. And I think a lot of people are just turned off because they don't know.
And it's a good learning process too. Now, I want to, for the record, make it clear that you don't have to give me deals. You can give deals to 100 other people who do commercial real estate.
Right.
But obviously, I want you to give me a deal because I will be happy to pay the commission on the deal. But there's no obligation. I'm not gonna, it's kind of that like Gary Vaynerchuk's jab, right hook type of a philosophy where I'm just gonna give all this information. I'll train anybody who wants to know how to do commercial real estate, and it's not a fee business for me or anything like that. I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to make money on it. It's a free seminar to educate people about what the commercial real estate is all about and how to transact. And I hope that I'll get leads out of it. And if I don't get anything out of it, that's fine.
Yeah, you want to cast a wider net, and why not? Because there's so much room and opportunity for people to play in. It's not like the market is saturated with, people that are just bringing all these deals. And right now, especially the way the real estate market is from our perspective when it comes to investing in it, the deals are very far and few in between. So you have to, as a real estate agent, you have to innovate. You have to figure out a different way to make a buck. And this is just another great opportunity for you to be, getting that big, huge commission check. I mean, closing a $2 million deal is a regular occurrence with you. And, getting 2.7 or 3% on that is not bad.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
That's a lot.
The other thing that I've done a lot of, coming from residential world, which in the commercial real estate, it's not a very common thing to do, but we are residential hustlers, wholesalers. So I've wholesaled over 7 deals in the past 3 years where I get the deal under contract,
right.
I work it like I'm buying it, I got everything ready, and then somebody who is in the area or somebody like my friend or partner wants to buy me out, and I let them have it. And I've made a $250,000 fee. I've made several $100,000 fee of
just by holding and stuff. Or
I didn't never closed.
Well, right, you never hold it, but you hold the contract.
I got the purchase agreement. I found tenants. I worked the deal, and then when somebody else wants to buy it, I said, well, if you want to take my place, put $100,000 on top of this, and I'll do it. And so that's for any of you for any people who are in the business of wholesaling and dealing in real estate, I think that's a great knowledge in your toolbox that you can use.
It's another revenue stream,
totally.
Another revenue source that everyone should take full advantage of.
Yeah, totally.
Especially when you're someone that's very open about being approachable, and people can call you or contact you. In fact, if somebody wants to contact you or get a little bit more information, how can people get a hold of you and get more information on your company?
So we have a website, caspianrealty.com. All the information is on there. I have a personal cell phone. I've been busy lately. I'm in and out of meetings constantly, so picking up a phone has been hard. But
call or text.
Call or text. My number is 651-216-6008. And if I don't pick up, please leave a message or at least text so that I can register. I mean, by the end of the day, I get 20
right. If you didn't get that, don't worry about it. We're going to have all the links, all the phone numbers in either on YouTube in the description or on SoundCloud, iTunes, however you listen to it. You'll have all the information. There's no way you'll be able to miss it. So if you have that deal that you think may be right for a commercial, you can just send it ASAP or as soon as this goes live, which is
well, let's talk about the deals. I mean, what is a deal? What determines a commercial real estate deal? I think that's the number one question.
Yep.
And very shortly, I can go through certain metrics that determine a deal. I think the biggest thing that you want to look at is there a real estate problem? So any vacant property, you see a big vacant box, Kmart or an industrial building or retail strip mall, that's a problem.
I saw probably 4 or 5 last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and so the minute you see it, if you just see a property and you call me, obviously it's like I can't really pay you anything. What I like to do is to educate realtors.
All right, so
people
what are the top,
box.
how many top 3, top 5 things that in your ideal world, I email you and say,
this is how it works. Very simple.
Yep.
You find out the nature of the problem and if there is even a possibility of a solution. So, for example, you have an empty property. You want to find out who the owner is.
Yep.
You want to find out if the owner is open to transacting on that deal, whether it's leasing the property or selling it.
Yep.
Remember, if somebody owns a huge commercial property that's empty or halfway empty, it's a problem. Because you got to pay taxes, utilities, the city's on you about the lawn and all that stuff. It's a problem. So
it's a problem mentally and financially.
Yeah, and so I'd like to find a way to provide the solution. Sometimes an owner is a bank. Sometimes an owner is a 75, 80-year-old gentleman. I bought a property from a 96-year-old guy, believe it or not.
Wow.
And now, one thing, a property does not necessarily have to be distressed to be a problematic. A lot of times we buy properties from estate sales where, children just want to dump everything, sell everything, and cash out. And we've bought several properties in those situations. We're not necessarily your, bottom feeders who buy everything cheap. Just like Ryan said, we buy a property. If we give people their price, we want to name the terms or the other way around.
Yep.
So there's a nice equation that makes the deal work for both sides, and that's what I believe in. And so any kind of a distressed commercial real estate problem, a vacant problem, is an opportunity for us, and that's what we do. We find tenants, we build additions. We're going to build an addition for that Dollar Tree store, and we can do condos.
Yep.
Buy an empty 70,000 square foot property, put 45 condos. There's a lot of those kinds of opportunities, and as long as the metrics work, as long as the deal makes sense from a return on investment perspective, which that's what I do. That's how I determine whether the deal is viable or not. There's always going to be an offer. I'm never going to say, well, I don't want that property. I'll say, I want the property at this price or with these terms, and go sell it, or get me in front of the seller, and I will try to get him to sign. We make offers all the time, and some offers come in right away. Others, we negotiate sometimes for 6 months, sometimes a year. It all depends on the degree of despondency and motivation from the seller side.
Right. But, so just going back to real quick, you want people to identify, the property and if there is a real estate opportunity.
And find out the story. Find out the story from the owner.
Find out the story and then get in touch with the owner and see if it's for sale. A lot of times there could be somebody that's just, they don't care. They're like, nope, I'm not ready to sell, don't want to sell. I know it's vacant. I don't care.
Send them a LOI. And they say, well, basically, if you ever want to sell, please call us. The other thing is, if any of you guys have a deal that is represented by another person, by another professional, but the story. For example, there was a deal on the market for $900,000.
Yep.
And it only makes sense at like $600,000, $500,000. So the guy calls me, and this is a listing that he knows about. Mm-hmm. He says, hey, by the way, I know the story. This gentleman died, and they don't want to. And they've been on the market forever.
Yep.
And I can probably get it to for $500,000. I went to the property, and immediately as I was walking through it, I said, it works. Send it in. Let's see if it happens. He sent it in. We're waiting for the response. If that deal happens, that's a great deal. If it doesn't happen, we'll wait. And so if you submit an offer like that, and in fact the seller is not ready, but nobody else is willing to transact with them, sooner or later it's gonna come our way because
right. And sometimes you do have to wait, but the wait is going to be worth it because.
But you don't have to do anything. I mean, once you look at it, if you look at 10 properties and you submit 10 offers, one is going to close tomorrow and 3 or 4 of them are going to close in a year or whatever. It doesn't matter.
It's all about building your pipeline too.
Totally.
So whatever deals that you have right now in the contract, they could close right away or maybe a little bit later, but you never stop looking.
Never stop looking, never stop. I mean, I probably have 30 or 40 offers out there, and obviously there's a huge gap between where I think I should be and where the seller should be. And
30 offers?
Well, I mean, we write offers all the time. I don't know how many offers, but a lot of offers. I mean, literally every time I look at a property, I assess what my risk tolerance is, and I write it up. Because today, I have a ton of equity. I have a lot of money. I don't have deals.
Right.
So
it's a good strategy.
Running around making offers. And the offers that work for me that would be great for our portfolio, we keep writing them up.
That's definitely a good strategy. So I think we're nearing our time. I know you have another appointment to get to, but I do want to thank you for coming in and giving everybody some commercial real estate knowledge. And please come back and see us again. I'm excited to do more videos and blogs with you and your company. And again, if people want to reach out to you, you're more than willing to listen to what they have to say, or they can send you an email to get in touch with you when it pertains to commercial real estate. So again, we'll have all that information. Once again, Rafik, thanks for stopping in and giving us your knowledge.
Thank you, Goran. I really appreciate you having invited me to this podcast, and I see you guys grow. I like your guys' energy, and I know you guys are going to dominate this town in a very short future.
Thank you, and I will write you a check.
I want to be a part of your growth. I want to be a part of your growth on the commercial side. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.